Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I'm your host, Catryn Becker. In this podcast, we talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate investors, corporate executives, you name it. We talk to everyone and anyone because all of us have a short story to share and something that we can learn from one another. Because on this podcast, we believe that there's more that brings us together than separates us. And there's something that we can learn and grow in every single moment. So on today's episode, I have Mark Herschberg, who has a similar story to me. He started out as an engineer at MIT in physics and computer science and electrical engineering, but now he's an author and a speaker and a teacher. So we are so glad to have him on here and to learn about what he has learned throughout his career and how it can help each and every one of us. So Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
The book that you authored is called The Career Toolkit. And in it, you address more of what we sometimes call the softer skills, but sometimes mastering the softer skills is the harder path to follow. So how did you start learning these skills? And did you have training that you went through, or was it more of just noticing that there was this gap and figuring out what worked for you to fill it?
I wish I had training. I learned this the hard way, that after I hit my head against the wall a couple times, I said, what's this wall all about? I recognized I had shortcomings and so invest in myself. Now, we didn't have great podcasts like this one or books like yours and mine back then. So I really had to figure things out kind of on my own. And as I was upskilling myself, I realized these skills don't just apply to leaders and C-suite executives, they apply to everyone. So I began to upskill my team. Now, as I was doing so, MIT had gotten feedback from companies saying, these are the skills we want to see: leadership, networking, negotiating, team building, communication, skills we've all heard about. They said, we can't find these skills, not just in engineers, not just in college students, but in general, we can't find people with these skills. So MIT put together a program. It's colloquially referred to as MIT's Career Success Accelerator. And as they were doing this, I reached out. I said, look, I've developed some content for my team. I'm happy to give it to you. Thought it'd be one and done. But they asked me to help develop more content and then stay and teach, which I've now done for over 2 decades. And that inspired the book, whereas the class is targeted to our undergraduate students. I took the concepts and generalized it for a wider audience, not just engineers, not just undergrads. And that led to the book, The Career Toolkit.
Okay. So you cover, I believe there's 10 different topics within your book that you go through. And obviously they're all important, but over the time that you've had this and the trainings that you've done, are there some that are the most important? Like if someone needs to prioritize what they're going to master, what are the top 3 that they should focus on?
I get this question a lot. And I'll first note the way the book is written, 10 skills, 10 chapters, you don't have to read it in order. You can jump straight to chapter 8, skipping chapters 1 through 7, if chapter 8 is where you want to focus. And this is the point, because there's not one road, one set of skills, whether one skill or a couple that are key. Maybe you're saying, I am so bad at networking and I know I need to get better for more opportunities, or maybe I'm in sales, I need to develop my network for sales. Well, in that case, you can jump to chapter 8, networking. You might say, I don't know where to start. Start with chapter 1, creating a career plan. You might say, my interviewing isn't very strong. Go to chapter 3, interviewing. Or I want to become a better leader. Go to chapter 4. So it really depends on yourself and where you are and what you believe will be the right area to invest in. As you point out, you should invest in all of them, but some of them might have a better ROI for you in the short term. If you're not sure where to start with chapter 1, create a career plan. Because like any of our projects at work, if you don't have a goal and a path to get there, it's really hard to know that you're doing the right thing.
And as silly as it sounds, sometimes people just need permission to go to the end of the book, right? It doesn't have to be linear. Like go to chapter 8 if you need to go to chapter 8. And I love that MIT has put this together and to see that things have changed. It's been 20 years since I came out of the educational system. And I know when I went to Colorado School of Mines, I barely had an English class. Like there was nothing about business. There was nothing about these soft skills. It was all hard maths and sciences. And then they sprinkled in a little economics, like take micro and macroeconomics. You're good to go. Good luck. Why do you think it's like that? And what are the trends that you're seeing for change?
Great question. If you think about it, let's take a skill like networking. We've all heard networking is so important. It's not what you know, it's who you know. We hear this from our parents, our teachers, our professors. And yet we've had more formal training in how to tie our shoes than how to network. What the heck? If this is so important, why did no one sit us down and teach it to us? There are historical reasons for this. High school is a relatively modern invention going back about 150 years. And that was really designed to help us get off the farm and into the factory. 200 years ago, I'd learn from dad, you'd learn from mom, and that's
Yeah.
all we needed. When we got into the factory, we needed reading, writing, arithmetic. We had to know the sign says, do not touch spinning blade. You need basic skills, but you didn't have to have networking skills to go work in the factory. So that was very basic. Now, at the university level, these are run by professors. And professors are wonderful people, but they are so narrow. The professors got to where they are by getting that high school education that's general, and then studying their field as an undergrad, then studying a subfield in their master's degree, then becoming the world's expert when they got their PhD. And these PhDs got together and said, well, if you want to be an engineer, here are the classes you need to take. Some calculus, some intro to engineering, a few of these. The school might layer on, oh, you have to do a language or a history from general stuff. The professor said, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. But if you want to say you're an engineer or a marketer or an accountant, you need to take these classes and get this knowledge. And that's what your degree says. It doesn't say you're a good engineer. It certainly doesn't say you're a good employee or worker. It just says you've got this knowledge. And that was fine circa 1950 when we were cogs in the machine and you sat there and said, what next, sir? Thank you, sir. I'll take it from my inbox, put it in my outbox. But in today's world where we have these dynamic teams and you're working with different people, where it's no longer that your boss knows more than you. You have a CMO, a chief marketing officer, who looks at the 24-year-old and says, TikTok, what is it? How do we use it? And so it's not supervisory and structural. And that changes the dynamic, and that means new skills, but the university system has not caught up there. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be another 20 to 30 years before it does finally catch up and they incorporate these skills and become more about professional development, giving you the training you need to be success in your career, rather than we're just going to hand you some knowledge based on 1,000-year-old guild.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to share?
I think we hit the big topics. That's about it. I'll just share where you can get all this free stuff.
Yes, tell the people all the places.
There are two websites to go to. First is for the book, the Career Toolkit book.com. And on that website, yes, you can see where to buy the book, Amazon, other places. You can also read my blogs and other articles. I talk about AI, I talk about other topics. You can get in touch with me or follow me on social media. But then there's a number of free resources, all free. I don't even ask for your email. Please take it using good health. The first one on the resources page is how to create that peer learning program we talked about. There are questions if you're a candidate and you're interviewing. How do you ask questions about the company culture? How do you ask questions about management style? I have not only the questions, but even how to bring it up. I have other resources for how do you think about hiring someone if you're on the other side of the table. So lots of free resources, all of this at the careertoolkitbook.com. And then we mentioned the free Brain Bump app. If you go to brainbumpapp.com, you can also search for Brain Bump in the stores. But if you go to brainbumpapp.com, you can follow links to the stores. There's a 90-second video showing how it works. There's a Q&A section if you're not sure how to use a feature. And remember that depending on when you hear this, the 2.0 version is coming out in the fall of 2023. So get the free Brain Bump app and use it to remember all the great things you learn from this podcast and all your other sources, so you always have it with you and you get better ROI on the time you spend learning.
Well, I just love how generous you are with your information and knowledge, and thank you for your time and being here. There was a lot of great things for the listeners to digest. I suggest listening to this a couple of times. Definitely download the Brain Bump app. And I love that, even just the play on words. We're so used to saying brain dump, of getting everything out of our heads, but I love the double entendre of bringing it back in, that it's brain bump. We're bumping our brains up. So I love it.
The nudge for your noggin.
Oh, that's so good. All right, Mark. Well, thank you so much. I will have all of your contact information in the show notes for people. I hope they reach out to you. And for those listening, thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe to this so that we can continue to bring you more amazing guests. If there's anything that you're curious about, any type of profession that you would like to see on there, please reach out to me. I would love to try to find those guests for you. Until next time, everyone.